Så mina damer och herrar, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure and an honor to introduce this Friday's iJam speaker. It's been a hectic week here. There's like hundreds of people wanting to join our merry bunch all the time. There's some new very cool members as well. Patrick, hi. Patrick has been the CEO of one of the largest communication agencies in the world and done a lot of wonderful stuff. Cool to have you here. We also have ministers coming here. It's the fourth minister coming here. I want you to see what we do and how to create more innovation here. But none of that is as interesting as what we're going to experience right now. The next gentleman that's going to come up, I met him when he was 19 and he was one of the best students in India. So he was sent to Sweden just to sort of to slow him down for a year and be working next to an entrepreneurial CEO, and I was lucky enough to get him. It was a Sunday and he booked a meeting 7 o'clock in the morning because that was not a holiday for him. And we met and I gave him all the work I thought he would do for the next month or 3 weeks. The day after, it was on stacks on my table, perfectly thought through. So I said, this is a keeper. And since then we've been working together, and that's 8 or 9 years ago. He's been working with creating companies like Magin and rolling out Result in many different countries and done all kinds of things, but starting at a very, very young age. And true to his quick maturity, he also went into a 40 years crisis somewhere around 26 and went into soul searching, exploring mind and body in Asia, and that's what we're going to hear more about, how you can go full speed ahead, slow down, reflect, and then go even faster. So, pause, play. Mahesh Kumar.
Great to be here. I see that we're all with a beer in a hand or a glass of wine and enjoying our Friday evenings. Oscar, who's one of the guys here, gave me the strongest whiskey just before saying you need to calm down. So hopefully I'm calm enough. Great to be here. My name is Mahesh, as Ola said. Thank you for the kind words, Ola. The theme is very simple. I think in today's generation, we like to go hard, we like to play hard, we like to go all in with our work, and at the same time, we sort of hit walls very often, whether it's burning out, whether we call it stress, whether you call it just anxiety. We have so many words for it that didn't exist 30 years ago or 20 years ago. And it's a symptom of our generation, and fortunately or unfortunately, I went through the same journey. And today I want to share some of my thoughts on going hard, but taking the time to pause often. So as Ola mentioned again, company and business building is my passion. I've worked with large companies in helping them understand what's happening in the digital world. Think of Shipstead and Perceiven and guys like that. Worked with building, helping fast growing companies grow international. Think LinkedIn, Google, so on. Was part of building Magin, which we raised 35 million euros, launched in 4 countries. So I was on the fast lane, 16 hours a day, pursuing a vision, pursuing a dream, working as if there's no tomorrow. Became a Sven Banan in the process. People tell me. My Swedish is still not that good, but I appear like a 6-year-old child every time I speak Swedish. So I prefer English. And life was peachy in one sense, but peachy was not equal to happy. There was something missing, and I felt I was being digitally anxious for months. There was something missing in life. I was working hard, but I felt like my mind was somewhere else, and I was fading away slowly. And one day I didn't get out of bed, and it was a Tuesday, and I'm like, fuck, this never happens. What happened to me? So I spoke to a bunch of smarter people, older people, intelligent people, and realized maybe the clicker should work, maybe, or an extended weekend or a vacation didn't cut it. Like I went to Japan for 2 weeks, came back, 1 week I was all energized, and then the week after I was like back to the same hole again. So on talking with a bunch of smart people, I realized that maybe it's time to sort of completely take a pause. Like just stop everything I'm doing and go find something that I really want to do that's completely different from what I'm doing. So over a matter of a couple of weeks, I had a guiding principle that followed me throughout this journey. It's not a vacation, because I'd taken a couple of vacations and that didn't really do it. So I needed something of a purpose. I wanted to pursue something really wild, so that's something out of your comfort zone. And hang out with people that are very different. So not people like us, but sort of people that are doing completely different things. So in the journey, I ended up meeting so many interesting people. One of them was on the SWAT team that shot Osama bin Laden. And he was sharing his experience. Or one guy who was an ex-convict in the US, but was overturned not guilty or innocent 16 years later after he served his jail time. And it's these kind of guys that you end up sort of opening your horizons on. So 2 weeks later, I started making a list, and then I went back to my childhood, thinking, what did I want to do when I was young? What was I fascinated about? I was always fascinated about space and astrophysics. That was on the list. Maybe go hang out with my parents. Maybe get involved and help out a charity. Understand Indian philosophy. I've always been fascinated by it. I'm Indian but lived abroad. Pick up a sport. Backpack in South America. Learn Spanish. I mean, these are all kind of random things that were going on. But over time, I sort of zoomed in and said, okay, let's challenge myself on two things. Challenge the inner self and challenge the outer self. And that became the theme. A couple of rules that followed with it. I wanted to be away at least for 90 days. So anything less is sort of a little bit of a vacation. But not more than 180 or 200 days, because then you become a vagabond and become a free spirit, and which is good in a sense, but I didn't want to be that either. I didn't want to have internet for more than 1 hour a day, so it was sort of off the grid. And I wanted to read one book per week. And 2 weeks ago, I saw that Mark Zuckerberg exactly has the same list, so I feel quite smart on one thing with him at least. Anyway, so challenge one was the inner self. So it was basically 5-6 hours of yoga every day. Lots of yoga, lots of breathing in a town in Ubud near Bali in Indonesia. It was very beautiful. It was a beautiful setting, rice fields everywhere, and you meet people from all over the world. I was doing this for about, 1.5 months, and then I realized maybe I need a challenge in yoga. And everybody was talking about something called Vipassana, which was you go, stay silent for 10 days. You don't talk. You're just silent, completely silent. Which means that you can sort of go along walks within that perimeter, water plants, help out on little things, but you have to be silent. Nobody talks. And you're with a bunch of 12 people. The first 2 days were very interesting because you're thinking, oh, I need to say, I have something to say, but you don't say it because obviously everybody is silent around you. And you have all these thoughts coming in your head. And by day 3, you realize that you can smell more, you see longer, you can hear the silent thing in the corner over there. Suddenly your other senses take over because you're not talking. And by day 5, I started liking myself a lot, which was interesting because I felt like a lot of things that I thought was me was not me because I'm not talking, I'm not thinking. Thoughts started going away. The little guy in your head that keeps talking away stops, so the monkey is off your back. Suddenly you're almost without thoughts. You wake up and you're like, no thoughts. Like nothing to do, no thoughts. You're not thinking about I need to read a book or I need to call my parents or nothing like that. So there were absolutely no thoughts. You wake up and you walk along. And the silence was super contagious. So suddenly you sit in front of another person, you're not talking anything, but the other person is laughing, you're laughing for no reason. There's something that you've communicated through an unknown language of not speaking. And this went on for 10 days, and at the end of 10 days, I realized that there's an elephant in our head, and you're its mahout, which means you're sitting on top of that elephant, and it's up to you to sort of, steer the elephant any way you like. There's a difference between what matters and what matters. So things that we think about, like, oh, my apartment is not beautiful, or I'm not wearing the right clothes, or I don't know how to pay rent, or things like that. Even as much as they're big problems, they really don't matter at the end. And I've started to think about, which is sort of a very deep subject, what I think is me is actually not me. So things that you think and associate with yourself is probably not you. You've not explored yourself deep enough to know whether it's you or not. It's sort of very deep. And I called a friend in Sweden. One of them is here, Rasmus. I called another Rasmus. We 3 hang out a lot. And I told him what I'm doing. He's like, dude, that got serious. Fuck, man, for your age, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, yeah, that's true. So let's do a different kind of soul searching. So we went to a nightclub in Dubai. Spent 7 days, don't remember what happened. Drank myself to death and completely forgot everything that happened before. Which got me thinking, saying that, okay, it's time for the next challenge. It's time to go into the outer self. I've been surrounded by sort of camp sport extraordinaires like Ola, like Felicio, and a bunch of guys. And Sweden is sort of very good with camp sport, and I've been living here for the last 3-4 years. So I was very interested in sort of camp sport being, it's Ola's baby, she got excited when I mentioned Ola. Anyway, so I was very I felt that camp sport sort of pushes you to the limits in terms of physical, physical barriers at the same time your mental barriers. So I thought, let's do Muay Thai in a small village in Thailand, away from all the things that we associate with Thailand, apart from the beaches, the cheesiness and so on. So found a very small village, 2-3 hours from Phuket, and there are only 3 things there. It's a big martial arts or a Muay Thai camp. The second one is a crab factory, and third one is a paper factory. So there's no tourists that go there. It's sort of a stepping stone to Similian Islands if you want to go diving, if you've been to Thailand. But otherwise nobody sort of is there. So it was sort of a very isolated little village, no internet, no anything. And just as a context, I was a super skinny, nerdy dude that didn't do sports when I was growing up. But when I was growing up, I always looked up to people who were athletes. I felt, shit, I wish I was one of them. I wish I could do something like that. Fuck, these guys are from a different world. So it was sort of interesting to go from that perspective around 20-25 years of my life and just run, kick, punch every day. And that became sort of a decent challenge. So I did that for about 2 months. And I got stronger and better over time. But then it was around the end of October, early November, and I realized I don't want to come home to cold Stockholm. Like, no, not the winter. I have some more days left. I need to do something. And then I speak to my friends. I'm like, if you want to do something, don't do the same thing. Like, challenge yourself. Like, set out a lofty goal. Go out of your comfort zone. So I said, what the fuck? Let's do a fight. like a real fight, like go challenge a local Thai guy who's been training for 15 years and let's go fight him. So that's my deposit slip that I paid. I was nervous like hell. Then I saw this little kid fighting and winning. I'm like, if the little kid can do it, I can do it, right? And then I saw this old man who's been training for like 20 years and he got knocked out round 2. And he's like, and he was bleeding everywhere. I'm like, fuck, this is real. This is the real deal. I'm going to fight one of these guys. And then I saw posters of me in town all over that little village saying, oh, come for the premiere fight, Friday, 19 December. We have an international guy fighting from Sweden. I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then everything I learned about meditation went out of the window because I was shit scared. And I started looking at sort of random websites like Muay Thai Guy. I mean, if somebody looked at my search history, it went from reading about sort of online marketing or whatever to everything about martial arts and Muay Thai and winning fights. It was just a complete transformation. My Facebook ads went completely ballistic. So I trained elite level for 6 weeks, which was really running 20 kilometers a day, training 7 hours, sparring like there's no tomorrow, getting hit, nursing my injuries every day, eating fish and chicken, and it was hell. And the number of times I wanted to quit is just unbelievable. I think I wanted to quit every second day. I was like, what am I doing? I don't need this. This is, for example, this was one day before my fight. And I sent this to the organizer saying, I can't even punch and kick because I'm sore. I'm super sore. I don't know what to do. And my neck is hurt, my back is hurt, everything is hurt. And they were like, it's up to you, you've trained this hard. And I was like thinking, when I sort of realized that, maybe I'm not going to fight, and I went to sleep that night, the next day being my fight, I got a bunch of messages, and this is where sort of the social component or the friends component of you sort of really lifts you up with having lofty goals. This was, for example, Ola saying that, he's going to fight, and I'm like, no, but I don't know if I'm going to fight. He's like, no, but he's going to fight, and he got like a bunch of likes and what have you, which adds pressure. And a lot of sort of well-wishing messages saying, even if you don't fight, you're a winner. And I'm like, what the hell? I have nothing to lose. I have absolutely nothing to lose. I'm not fighting for the money, I'm not fighting for a title, I'm a dark horse. Nobody knows me in this town. So I fought him like a man possessed. He was a strong opponent, he'd been training for like 12 years, got a bunch of kicks, broke a little bit of my ribs, sparred and wrestled like there's no tomorrow, but out of nowhere, 2 kicks to his head and an elbow, and I knocked him down. And that was a fantastic feeling, and it lasted about 4 rounds. And we had friends, I had friends all over from Sweden, from Singapore, from India, from New York, and we had champagne and we drank and celebrated. And next day I was in the hospital. So, oh shit, broken ribs, which is horrible, but it was worth it. I felt like $1 million. This was my support team that helped me train, and now I'm back 3 weeks, back to reality. I feel I'm more confident than ever. I know where the line is between sort of hallucination and what I'm pursuing. More focused, which is great. I'm ready for new challenges. I've realized one important thing, that I'm very conscious on who I work with more than what I'm working with, which was a cause of frustration before in my past life. So I'm very, very focused on the people I want to work with. I work whatever with them. We want to go train drainages, let's go do that because we love each other or we like working with each other. So I want you to reflect for a minute and tell me, if you think you should take a pause too. So turn to the person next to you and think whether you feel you need a pause, or you feel you're going to take a pause at some point in time, and it's beneficial. One, and two is, what would you do in a pause? Take a minute and reflect. To the person next to you.
Vad ska du göra?
Ja, men inte än.
You know?
Jag vet inte, jag känner mig inte så... jag skulle inte behöva göra det för att återställa någonting just nu. Men det skulle ju definitivt vara kul. Vad känner du?
Oj. Så här som helst. Tja. Rasmus. Hampus. Ja, nu gick jag. I filmed everything. Log on. You gotta be stable.
Okay.
Or do you feel like this is something you want to do?
So what was a show of hands? Who wants to take a pause?
Well, not now.
Wow, my speech didn't really do that much good. You are in a pause right now. Wow, okay, tell us sort of, what are you doing?
I've been living in America for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I kind of did it in January last year.
Yeah.
To the point that I couldn't stand up either.
No.
It was full-time school and full-time work.
Yeah.
And training on top of that.
Yeah.
Because I was a professional athlete. So it was too much. I
Yeah.
needed a break.
Yeah.
And I definitely recognized the whole finding yourself.
How long is your break?
My break had been for I kept on studying,
Yeah.
but I didn't work and I didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I think now it's my first real break to come home.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see.
So it's an open-ended break.
She
Yeah.
was riding 8 horses per day, and she was studying and working at the same time.
Right.
So you can
You hit the wall.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
I think I did 6 to 7 lessons a week,
Wow,
or
that's.
a month, 6 to 7 lessons a month, plus working and studying on top of that.
But you have sort of an end date of when the pause ends, and you kind of go
Yeah,
back.
I'm going back in July.
Okay.
But yeah,
Great.
it's definitely a
Great.
refreshing moment,
Great.
you know?
Great.
It's definitely.
So, a show of hands, why don't you want to take a pause? Anybody who feels like you don't want to pause? Yeah? Sorry.
Yeah, I started my career.
Fantastic. Great reason. Great reason. Yeah. Great reason. Rasmus?
I sort of have a slow breakdown during the year, I guess. And I think I'm like, without taking a pause, I didn't really acknowledge what happened, but I'm sort of coming back, working less. I wasn't able to be at my full capacity.
Yeah.
But slowing down and having that sort of lower pace for a while, it's starting to get my energy back, and I rather feel that I want to do stuff again now
Yeah.
that I didn't have.
So you want to sort of
yeah.
go back to being full
Yeah.
pace again?
Yeah.
Interesting. I met a lot of people along the way, and there were some common reasons that we started discussing. And it happened to be sort of money. It takes some, I mean, you're not earning during the pause. Sweden is great for that, isn't it? Like we have a fantastic social system over here where you have the mamma ledigt or the papa ledigt, and you also have the arbetslos. And I mean, it's it's like make babies, Mahesh, enough of pause. No, but so 3 common reasons outside sort of, Sweden is such an ahead country, but if you sort of look at the world and take a scan, it's generally kids because they're growing up, they're studying and so on. It's money because you need to plan, and it's time. And her father is worse. So I started looking at this, and there are a lot of hacks, a lot of people doing this. So for example, if you want to make passive income, there's something called Nomad List, where you can go look at sort of different cities you can live in, and the cost of living is well indexed. You can filter it by weather, like you want number of sunny days, number of rainy days. Fiverr, you can make money with freelancing and so on. Time, I think most of us are afraid of quitting or changing, or if you're like us, like people over here, you run your own thing. Then it's a question of how you want to delegate, and it's doable as well. And kids, I've started collecting this database of ideas that you can do with kids around you, with kids going to preschool or early school, and you can still pursue something that you've always wanted to do, like learning Spanish or whatever the list is. So email me, and I'm super happy to sort of give you my database and see if that's inspiring for you. Some inspiring books to read is The Work Week, 4-Hour Work Week. It's a fantastic read. It's like, how can you work 4 hours a month, make the same amount of money? So this guy, sort of Tim Ferris, outsources his admin life. Like it's done in India or China or Philippines or something. He doesn't care about his admin life. He doesn't care about his dating life. Somebody picks it up for him. And he just goes and shows up on dates. I mean, he's just completely automated his life. So when he works, he makes money. And that's 4 hours a week. That's it. And then he's like, I want to become a wine connoisseur. That's his lifestyle in Silicon Valley or in San Francisco. Then there's Eat, Pray, Love, which is sort of a nicer romantic novel on it. And then the new book that I started reading during my break was Vagabonding, which is a fantastic experience of taking mini retirements every 5 years and sort of pursuing a larger vision, but doing things that are not connected to work alone, but doing things that can enhance your personality. So thank you so much, and I hope you challenge yourself to something outside your comfort zone. Have any questions? I'm here.